right? Pi Yu is here with us. There's Lance Wong and Kai Yan. Hi guys, thanks for joining us tonight. And also Susan Lee.
Yeah,
Hello.
hello. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Yes, I think this topic, right? Of course, we were thinking that it's Children's Day. So again, happy Children's Day to all the kids and also to the parents who bore these kids. Yes, and for the rest of us, we're still young at heart. So yeah. Yeah, and I think the topic also came about like when we have when Hui and I we have conversations, we compared how different our growing up experience is has been because for Hui Ling she's very very healthy, whereas I'm completely the opposite. So I was sickly since young all the way through well into adulthood. So yeah, I think I was just reflecting and literally I just told her that my experience as a kid just tells me that healthier kids literally have more freedom and fun. Yeah.
And when I think about the topic, I like Jamie was sharing, I'm the healthier one out of both of us, and I'm also the healthier one out of me, my brother and I. When we were smaller, of course. So back then, I remember he was 5, and I was yeah, he was 5 and I was 7, and I remember that he struggled a lot. And as a child, right, we don't know many things, but we kind of have some scenes in our mind, like some scenes that you remember. So I always remember when we get home from the playground, usually you'll be like very sweaty, very smelly, right? Go and play, and then I'll just go and shower. Like it's very natural. I'll just go and shower. But for my brother, right, he cannot shower immediately because he will always be scratching. He'll always be scratching his joint area, like they'll be itching a lot, and then if he go and shower immediately, it'll be very painful. So I think Jamie, someone like you who also has had skin issues, you will know. So
Mm.
then I realized that is really inconvenient for him, you know. When I could just go for a shower and then carry on with the next thing to do. He will be bogged down by this like physical discomfort, and
Mm.
I guess eventually it became worse where when you scratch and then it recover and then you scratch and then it bleeds, right? I think the skin and all is just not so nice. Like he
Mm.
have very dark joints and stuff and just look a little bit like irritated
Yeah.
and all. But I think that really affects a child's learning when he was in school. And later on I will share more during our hopefully later on, right? The medication that he was taking also affected him, so he was quite
Mm.
hyperactive in school. So I think when a child is like that, right, you can't really focus on having fun. You can't really focus on just doing what you want to do. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, I totally agree, and definitely I experienced it myself. But in the meantime, right, for those of you who are tuning in, if you do have some of your own childhood experiences or those of your child, right, like what is it like for you or your child, when you experience illness or just frequently falling sick, things like that, do share with us in our comments. So, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, you may not have heard my story, but I used to be a really sickly kid. In fact, even way before I had memory of life, right? My mom told me I was hospitalized a few times for bronchitis. I also had asthma. So, my mom would always relate to me in this story that, I'm just a baby. And, I have to put in a capsule. I guess they will pump. Medication in like a older version of nebulizer. Yeah, so she said I was in a capsule, like just she's just relating to me what happened. So yeah, I think I my earliest memory of my life it's revolves around seeing doctors just regularly, maybe once or twice a month I'll see a doctor, then confirm will have medication, and then occasionally have injections. So I don't know about you, like, I think even there are many adults who don't like injections. What more about kids, right? So I think it's always it's always a bit traumatic to have to see doctor. Then I know that I'm going to have injection, right? So my mom will always tell me things like, oh, like to distract me. It's like, oh, you sing song. Because when I was a kid, I like singing, right? So say you sing song, but like to me, it's like, what's the point of singing? I know I'm just singing, like, and somewhere in the song, the injection will come, and it's so painful, right? So yeah, I think yeah, it's just that lor. Just I know that there's a lot of food that I cannot eat. You know, if definitely cannot drink cold drinks or have cold food or certain dishes. Too cooling cannot eat, or too you know, junk food or cakes too sweet. A lot of things cannot eat. Yeah, which to me, I guess I'm missing out. But I also at a very young age I also accept, because I rather not eat those things. Um, so if I can avoid seeing the doctor, so that to me, as a kid, I think I definitely miss out on fun stuff. Like imagine you go to a friend's party, like, you know, or like gatherings, and then a lot of things cannot eat. It's not very fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
um yeah, but I think one of the most like even till today, right, I can remember very well as an experience in school. I don't even remember what happened to me, but I just remember, like, I think it was in primary 3 or primary 4, right? I missed school for a stretch. I can't remember what happened to me, but again, because I sick, I missed school for a stretch, right? Then just nice, like the day when I went back to school, right? Actually, the class was supposed to present a project, like for something. And before I went away sick, right? I was actually paired up with this girl. But because I was so sick for so long, right? She did the project herself. Like, then
Oh,
I felt really sad, because even though we are so young, right? But everybody else's project looked so nice because they had two persons doing it. Then my friend just gave a not so nice project compared to everyone who presented, right? But my name was also on it because nobody knew when I would come back to school. So she didn't pair up with somebody else. Anyway, it's just a very, yeah, so I felt really bad. And I think I felt bad for me and my friend, like, yeah, both of us, my classmate also. So even until today, I can remember that it was just a really not nice feeling that, like, um I couldn't even contribute to making the project look nice, and now I also have my name on the not nice project. But I also feel sorry for my friend. Like I guess we are embarrassed, and we feel so bad, you know, like everybody's project looks so nice. Yeah, yeah. I it's such as wonder, like, how come I can still remember these things today. I think that feeling, that emotion is very memorable lor. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you must have met
So
a child, so you
yeah, I
remember it
guess
until.
so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm quite curious. Could you share with us? You know, because sometimes when someone is not going through the same journey, right, we won't know what it's like, and food is like so important to me. Like, could you share with us like what some of the food that you couldn't eat
I think
when,
because
yeah,
when I was sorry.
as in growing up, lor, what are some of the
Uh
food that you?
Definitely, for because I also had eczema, so definitely no seafood, which is like, you know, for in our culture, like seafood is like delicacy, you know. And in my mom's dialect group, which is Henghua, right? And they actually use a lot of seafood in their cooking. So I will feel so sad, like when my brother and, you know, they can eat, then I cannot eat. Yeah, and also I think just in general, like my mom doesn't let me eat junk food, which I can understand now. Like I myself also don't want myself to fall sick. So like French fries, chips, soft drinks. Like definitely didn't drink soft drinks. Yeah, those sugar drinks. Yeah, basically anything fun. I didn't have anything fun. Yeah,
So
yeah.
echoing the topic, right? No, no fun. Like any food,
Yes.
no fun. Like you can't eat. Like you have to eat all the stuff like that kids like. Eh.
Yeah, like really healthy. I I think I ate like a strict adult.
Hmm. So the audience here joining us, right? I'm really curious also. Like, did any of you have to avoid certain foods, or like are your kids avoiding certain foods? Yeah. We have quite a few people with us. Hi guys. As you can see, our topic is healthier kids have more freedom and choice. And we decided to talk about this topic because it's Children's Day, like the month itself. Yeah, so we want
Yes.
some awareness to this, to starting young. So for those joining us, I think you can see some of our colleagues, right? Jasmine, Cheryl, Cindy from Malaysia, and Gary is a friend, and Denise. Hello, Denise.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, do you guys have to avoid any food growing up? Maybe because of mental health condition, or are your kids avoiding certain food? Do share with
Uh,
us.
yeah, or did you have any experiences or memories like what I shared just now about, missing that project? Yeah. Yeah. So do let us know in the comments. And so Hui Ling, earlier on you were saying, there was something that happened to your brother, about the medication that he took.
Yeah, so because my brother did not only have like asthma, I think
Mm.
when a child is sickly, there's definitely a root problem that manifests in many ways. So the skin is one issue. Another issue that he had was asthma. So he was actually on steroid cream and steroid spray, and both are strong medication. So what happened to him is he became hyperactive in school, and I didn't know about this until I came into our high-tech health clothing business, and one day I heard my mom sharing. I think I was too small back then, so I heard my mom sharing. Right, there was this time that she was called to school. I mean, she's called to school often because my brother is not really participating well. Like he's always running around, and then very very hyperactive. So there was one incident where she was called to school, and I actually felt like a bit sad when I heard it lah, because I imagine if I'm the mother, right, it'll be quite heart wrenching, yeah. So what happened was my mom was called to school, and then she saw my brother in the toilet playing with the water, like a very very active young boy. So he was playing with a lot of water, splashing himself, and of course no parent wants to see that, like the clothing all wet. So when she wanted to scold the teacher, right, like she was angry and she wanted to scold the teacher. The teacher was also very wise. So the teacher quickly brought my mom, right, to the classroom where all the other kids were there, and then she showed a very obvious difference that everyone else is participating, and then my brother is the only one that's hyperactive and running around. So I think at that point of time, my mom decided, like, okay, so actually it's not really the teacher's fault or the school, but rather she felt responsible as a mother to seek other alternatives rather than just giving him medication, because obviously it is showing up, and all these like a sort of side effects is showing up, and he's not really functioning like a normal healthy child. Yeah, so I think that's one. And another thing was that um because my brother was also was sickly, right, and the asthma attacks, right. Another thing that my family did differently is that they actually bought a they actually bought a weekend car. So in Singapore, right, the weekend car thing, like I think it's after 7 p.m. you can use until 7 a.m. And then it's a slightly more affordable uh car plate, right? So they actually bought that car just to take care of his asthma attacks. When my family didn't need a car, as in both parents, their work, they had good transport. Like I remember when my mom was a secretary, her boss would pick her from work and all, because the factory is nearby. And then my dad had like good transport also. And then we stay so near to the shopping mall, when we were kids. So there's no reason to buy a car at that point of time, especially with their, I would say, earnings at that point of time. Yeah, I think the car wasn't really part of the budget, but they had to, just because my brother wasn't well. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and actually I remember Hui Ling's mom sharing with us. We're all co-workers as well, that there was once they decided on the car because there was one time when they rushed Hui Ling's brother to the hospital, right? And the doctor was telling them that if you're just a bit later, right, it could have serious consequences, and that's why they were so worried and so afraid, right? And that's why they like you said, something not really in their budget, but they went out of their way dug deep into their pockets to afford this weekend car so that in any emergency in the middle of the night they can quickly send him. So I think like if I put myself in their shoes, right, I think that is very anxiety causing, like both parents are working hard in the day, then at night you might still be thinking like, can I sleep properly, what if I didn't hear my son, or things like that. I think it's, yeah, very very must have been a difficult time, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really tough being my brother also, not fun at all. So I think the parents are worried, the kid is like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine if it's me. Because at the point of time, right, I'm the pig sleeping on the bed, I don't even know what has happened. Yeah, and I imagine like him, like he was probably like what, having an asthma attack, and then like I need to go to the hospital now, when he really wants to sleep. So I think that's really not fun at all. And then it affects school also. Like how do you
Mm.
go school the next day? It's not possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the part about taking medication, it was needed because that was the only way my parents knew how to take care of my brother. But it was definitely a method that, or rather a choice that brought side effects.
Mm.
So I'm glad that he's already out of it. Yeah, and I really hope that those that are tuning in, right, you will stay all the way to the end, because I think at the back we'll probably want to share with you guys what are some other alternatives now that my brother has walked out of this, and also
Yeah,
Jamie has walked out of this journey. I think there are
yeah.
definitely better options and better ways. So Jamie, you want to share with us? I think yourself or the people around you probably had like experience about this medication thing also.
Yeah, so I think back then when I was a kid, it's like, 30 plus years ago, right? I think the parents were not so well informed back then. Like I think now many parents would know that, oh, like, our gut health, the how healthy our gut bacteria, the gut flora is. It's actually very critical to our health and our immune system. But back then, nobody really knows this. It's just like, oh, doctor give what medicine you take. So if your child is having a fever, then usually they will end up taking some antibiotics. So I find that actually the more as I go through the years, right, the more medication I take, right, I find that I fall sick more often. It's
Mm.
really, yeah, it's really true. Like last time, I really find that every month I'm going to the hospital. I think, yeah, now that I grow and I'm a parent myself, I think it must be really tough for my mom and, like, my parents in general to have a kid who is often going to see the doctor. But I noticed that, yeah, the more medicine that one takes, right, you end up being more sickly. And of course, now that we grow up, we know that, yeah, when our gut health, the gut flora, because when you take antibiotics, right, it kills all the good and the bad. So when our gut becomes weak, right, then it makes us more susceptible to falling sick again. So of course today more parents do know about this, so they have the awareness. So I'm not sure if Hui Ling, you have friends, peers who are parents, yeah, but it's important for them to know that if they have to give their children medication, especially antibiotics, right, then it's very important to have probiotics as well, things that can help to the build back the gut flora. But even so, right, it would be so much better if you didn't have to destroy the gut flora in the first place. It's almost like like we have on earth, we have our rainforest, right? We call that a primary forest. So if that is destroyed, you can try to plant back the trees, but the secondary forest is never the same as the original primary forest. Yeah, if you understand what I mean. Yeah, yeah, lor, yeah.
And you were saying the part of taking more antibiotics and falling more sick, right? That just
Mm.
sounds very counterproductive.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, maybe not everybody experiences that. Hopefully, sometimes some children bounce back much better. But I think if someone for like myself, as like a infant, I was really falling sick, I think like my chances are even tougher. Like within like the first year of my life, yeah. So where the baby is still growing and things like that. So I think it was really tough for me. So, and of course, because most medication inherently have some side effect, right? um I personally feel that like from my own experience as well, if children can be more healthy and have reduced the chance of needing medication, then it's so much better. Because yeah, recently I felt a bit sad for my friend, yeah, my secondary school classmate, who was sharing with me how she didn't know that a drug that was given to her child when she was younger, because the child had flu quite frequently, so the average flu medicine didn't really help her get over her flu fast enough. So the doctor tried another medication that was more effective. So since it after taking it was more
Mm.
effective, right? Whenever she got flu, she was prescribed the medication. The daughter was prescribed the medication. And but then later on, right? See, it's like maybe like 2 years ago, that she started taking this medication when she has flu. Of course, it's not all the time, but each time she has flu, she was given the medication for a number of occasions. And I think each time you have to take for a certain period, right? So it turns out that later on, my friend actually noticed some symptoms about her child that showed showed some mood, even some signs of depression. And later on, actually, there was a news article that came out, right? So actually, not just her, there were many parents who noticed these yeah, so I guess the parents, they themselves form a group and they shared their experiences about their children, where this asthma and flu drug, right, called Singular, actually may produce neuropsychiatric episodes in very young children. So my friend was sharing with me the story about what her daughter went through, and I felt very, very sad, because it's like, children, they are very, innocent and small. They are so small, they should be having a lot of joy and happiness. But her daughter was actually like saying things or making statements that is akin to someone who is depressed, and she's just like in lower primary school. So I felt like, wow, it's so I was so sorry to hear. And of course they didn't know. So and for the rest of us who don't know, right, actually medication that we take into our body, it actually stays within the system for quite a long period of time. It could be years, not just months. So yeah, so it's really something we want to work towards. If we can go drug free, if we can lead lives where we have more resources or more knowledge that allows us to overcome these little episodes of sickness or symptoms with methods that may not require medication or so much medication per se. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we have some people here with us. Wanted to say hi to them also. I think I have my aunt from Malaysia.
Wow. Hello.
COVID has made us connect only online. And we have
Yeah.
here as well, Nicole, Siu Hong, and my facial therapist is here, Vina. Hello. And other colleagues, Donna and partners Jenny and Alex. Hello, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Jamie was just sharing with us about her friend's story when medication was given and more side effects actually happened. She was also sharing with us a news article to illustrate that. Because tonight our topic is tonight our topic is on healthier kids have more freedom and fun, and this topic is especially for this month. I thought that is really the best time to do it. And we started off with me sharing my brother's journey, because I'm the healthier child, right? So my brother depicted this lah, so I had more freedom and fun in that sense. And then for Jamie, it is herself who had less freedom and fun, but because she found a sustainable way to take care of her health, right now she can do it for her beautiful daughter Hannah. Yeah, and moving on from this part about medication, right? I think besides being aware of the side effects of medication, thanks for sharing with us so much. Maybe we can talk about what are other harms that we should also take care of, because I think medication is just one thing. Medication is very, how to say, okay, when you fall sick then you take medication, right? But I think
Mm.
day to day there are also a lot of whether we are healthy or not healthy, whether the child is, healthy or not healthy, right? I think we are all exposed to a lot of unseen harms. And I think when I say unseen, it's also because we are unaware lah. Unaware, that's why it's unseen. So what are some of these? I remember, Jimmy, you held a physical seminar before,
Mm.
and then that time I found it really helpful because you share with us a lot of different things. So I was thinking maybe we could bring that online also
Mm.
to share with the audience here with us some knowledge about what are the other things that are unseen that we should also take care of.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the physical seminar that I used to do on a regular basis is called Modern Health Threats and Our Countermeasures. So, there are definitely a lot of things that are different in our modern civilized life. Definitely from 100 years ago, a century ago, our lives are very different now. But even like our lives now are very very different from like even like just 30 years ago, right? So uh, I think for some of the more um, informed viewers here, I think certain things that I say you may know, but I've remember that going delivering these talks, right? I had members in the audience who come to me after the session to say that, wow, I really didn't know. Like they literally said, I didn't know that there are these things. So when Hui Ling said that they are unseen, right? First it's unseen because we are unaware. But the second aspect of unseen is they are literally invisible. So even when we are aware, right, there's no way of telling, there's no way of verifying. You just kind of like, yeah, maybe, like even for me, based on what I know, yeah, it's really invisible, and sometimes you cannot know for sure which one is really safe. Yeah, so sometimes it can be, how should I put it? Yeah, it can feel a bit helpless sometimes that we have these environmental harm. So an example of it is like what we call volatile organic compounds, right? VOCs. These exist in a lot of solvents that are being used to make furniture, interiors of homes and offices. Yeah, so it could be found in the carpets, in the upholstery, in the curtains, in the flooring, and of course paint, right? Yeah, so um, materials being, so like specifically if we are talking about children, we are also talking about materials in toys. So I think where food is concerned, I think a lot of people are understanding that, oh yeah, like organic food is better than um, regular produce, right? Because organic food, again, even organic, there are different kinds of standards and labelings, but generally organic food is better than regular produce because it has no or less pesticides or less chemical fertilizers, things like that, right? But usually in toys and furniture, and these environmental hormones like phthalates and other chemicals, right? They are also found in children's clothing. And actually,
Oh,
what I said, yeah, they're also found in children's clothing. And what I say, it applies to adults as well because these are also found in adults' clothing. So if you're tuning in for your kids, right, also please remember that the same things, it also affects adults as well, right? But of course kids are very vulnerable because all their systems are still developing. Yeah, so yeah, these are things that that are lacking in labeling. You might meet very good manufacturers who will label that our toys are safe in this that, but then like not majority do not have much labeling, and they are not required to label, right? Yeah, so yeah, these are some examples. Yeah, just to quote a few. So I mean, Hui Ling, have you ever, like before you entered uh our health clothing business, right, have you ever considered things like this?
yeah, and thanks for sharing with us. And before
Yeah.
I I think we have some new people here with us. So I just want to say hi to our colleague Elaine, uh, Michelle from Malaysia, and also a partner from our work, Lorenzo. Hi, good evening to you guys, and thanks for joining
Evening.
us. So, Jimmy was just sharing with us some of the unseen harms in our environment that we should also take note of, other than understanding that there's side effects of medication. And the question you asked just now, right? Have I ever considered? Uh, to be honest, no. Like, which is why I really appreciate choosing a career in health because I was only exposed to all this because I have to provide health solutions to our customers. So then it really gets you in the mood and also in the practice of health. Like for example, now when I eat like slightly unhealthy food, right, I will actually feel guilty and be aware like okay, this is deducting points. But before that, it's like food is just food and then it's yummy and then you don't really care. There's no distinction. So I think to answer your question, no, I didn't consider last time, and whatever that I knew would be limited to whatever that my parents knew. Like for example, one example is that when you're a child and you use the pen to draw on your hand, right? And then my mom will be like, this is very bad because the ink will go into your skin and all those. So it is only whatever that the parent knew and up to that point. Yeah, and as how you will still fight back like, oh really man, and then you ask for some like evidence. So sometimes parent coaching the child can be not easy lah, which is why I think the environment together is the best because we learn and every day we have to be updated. Every day we are updated. Like the news article that you show us just now, I think we are updating ourselves because a lot of from what I understand also a lot of things are always changing. What was okay 5 years ago can be not okay now.
And what Hui Ling just shared, right, also reminded me of like maybe it's also our life stage. So because I mean I look into these I'm very interested in health or like things that can affect health because of how sickly I was, and definitely also definitely ramped it up as I entered our health clothing business about 9 years ago. So it's also our stage in life, right? So previously I already knew about VOCs, environmental hormones, things that I mentioned earlier. But as I became a parent, right, I start looking into other things like, of course, toys, children's toys. I didn't look into toys last time because I didn't like buy toys for myself to play, right? But when later on I have to, I want to select toys for my child, then I also start looking into like, oh yeah, are there toys that have safer materials? What kind of adhesive? What kind of paint? What kind of actual material they use? Even like wood is better than plastic in general, but there are also many different kinds of wood, right? And they could be like particle board or plywood is very different from solid wood, or what kind of solid wood, or where's the material from. Like there are a lot of things to look into. But one big thing I found was also about diapers. Like unless you become a parent, you won't really look into diapers. So
Or if
Hui
you're
Ling,
an adult,
yeah, I mean,
it's an adult.
yeah. So if you're caregiving, right, then you will look into diapers. But like a lot of times, right, these are just like transparent to most of us. But like as I look into diapers, right, there are a group of parents who want to do cloth diapering, because they think it's better for the environment, number one, and number two is just it's also because, right, a lot of regular diapers are actually filled with chemicals. So in order for diapers to hold liquid and not spill out, right, obviously there are some substances they use, that so different brands could use different types of or different grades of these substances, and also the pulp inside, right, like is it bleach or what is it bleached with, things like that. So yeah, it's the more I read into it, the more I realize that wow, it's very important to have a safe diaper, because children, like babies, right, from day one they have to use diapers. you know, and it's for a few years, so every day, right, they have to use a few diapers, like quite a number of diapers every single day. Yeah, so that also matters to their health also.
I'll take note of that when my child diaper next time. Yeah, but like you said, right, it's phase of life, so you
Yeah.
probably have to explore until we are there. Yeah, until we are there. But that being said, I think that's why it's so important to learn from shared experiences. Like you don't really need your family or your children to get to that stage, you know. For example, we started off this conversation today, right, talking about like how some children grow up in a less unhealthy because they are less healthy, they have less freedom and fun. And I feel that um especially so when we are healthy, right, we should take advantage of the situation and try to avoid having
That's
to go
right.
through that journey, and also try to do things differently to maintain the health. Yeah, I think it's a learning from other people's experience, and I think that is the whole point of our conversation tonight. And I really like. I think
Yeah.
what we're trying to do here is to share with everyone yeah, so that you guys can learn something and do something different for you and your family's health. And also, this brings me to this the next part that I want to explore, right, or share with you guys, the importance of knowledge. So, because nowadays, right, okay, I have a question for the audience. When it comes to plastic bottles, right, how do you choose a good one? So we are gonna like pause for a while and wait for you guys to answer. There's a few of you here. Yeah, so when choosing plastic bottles, how do you determine a good one? Good one like as in like good for health. Anyone have answers? We have some people here with us. Jeannie, Yinghui, Apple. Oh, my friend
Hello for joining us.
Kai Ying's Kai Yan. Yeah. So all of you here, don't be shy. Just a simple question. I want to see if anyone come speak to us lah. We'll be happy if you speak to us too. Yeah. So yes, thank you, Apple. So your answer is BPA free. Anyone else? You have anything to share? Any tips when it comes to buying a good plastic bottle? Okay, so I think Apple answered one of the points. So nowadays, when we choose plastic bottles, right? I think like since maybe about 3 years ago, we are all aware that we will try to choose one that is BPA free, and I was very shocked because 3 years ago, right? I was listening to Jamie's seminar also back then when I was even more junior. I heard that Jamie's family, right, was already aware of this BPA free tip 30 years ago. So it really shocked me that this is not something new, and actually a family can know about it 30 years ago. 30 years is a long time, you know, and for all the rest of us, I haven't even lived 30 years. So for the rest of us, right, who has been like devouring the BPA because we are not aware, right? We have been doing it and for another extra 30 years. Yeah, so which I believe that today there are really a lot of things that we don't know about, both good and bad. You know, we don't know about certain bad stuff that we are doing repeatedly, but we also don't know that there's some good stuff that we can already start doing. And I think it's all about knowledge and having the openness. I believe when BPA was first told to everyone must have been so shocked. But Jamie, your family, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Actually, when Hui Ling told me, like, you know, how surprised she was, right? I think I want to share a part of my life that I felt surprised. It's very interesting because the reason why my family knew about this 30 years ago, right? Yeah, was because there was some major medical events in my family. So I often feel, right, that maturity or knowledge, right, it usually comes at some price. So I think the experience that my family went through, because yeah, more than 30 years ago, right, the doctors only gave my dad 60 days left to live. So it's very, very tough. It's like a very pivotal time in my family's life. I think the children were definitely very, very young. My parents were only in their 30s. So can you imagine like this young family and the pillar, the sole breadwinner, and my dad was also supporting his parents' family and his siblings. He's the eldest of 10 children. So I think it was a very difficult time for my parents for sure. The kids were young, we couldn't do anything. But I think that experience where the doctor said that they can't do anything more for them. So my dad had liver issues. He was going to liver failure. So yeah, that's it. We only have one liver. So when it's gone, other than a transplant, which don't always work anyway, even if you can get one, right? So that time my dad and my mom, they just were very courageous. They went to read up a lot. So the first thing they to do is like, okay, how to take care of the liver. That's why there are a lot, they read up a lot about these things that are bad for health, that can create increased toxicity in the body. That's why they were reading up on that, and then they knew about BPA. So sometimes I think what we know really depends on our collective, our family experience, which also ties in with what Hui Ling said just now. It's like if your family didn't have certain experiences, then you wouldn't know. And the only way to know is really to learn from other people's experiences as well, which is what we are doing, not just this episode, but every episode. We hope to add some value to everyone. So coming back, right, to me, I just remember when I was 10 years old, right, like my family's life changed a bit. So of course I was a sickly kid, but I think like having a major critical medical event, right, just changed my family's approach to life. So my parents started telling us and teaching us things which to me as a kid is like, oh, it's just something that my parents said. So the thing that surprised me was when I became an adult, right? The things that my parents taught me, like I don't know if this resonates with you, but when I was a kid, right, I just think that what my parents tell me is like my friends should also know. There's this assumption when you're a kid, right? Like, right, what your parents tell you, other parents will also like tell their own kids. So when I started working, I still remember I used to be a teacher. I still remember in the school that I was first working in, where I had like start having like going into society and spending a lot of time with fellow adults, right? I was very surprised by what I observed in the pantry of the office in the school, the staff room in the school. So last time they have this, mineral water bottle. Okay, again, this is like when I was 21, so it's like 20 years ago. So people were taking the mineral water bottle and going to the water fountain, right, and filling it in hot water. Right, then I'll be like, hey, don't put in the hot water. Don't put hot water in the mineral water bottle. Then they say, why cannot? Then I'm like, hey, how come you don't know? How come you don't know plastic bottle cannot put hot water? Then I'm like, but I thought everyone should know this, right? But actually it's not. So yeah, it's that is something that surprised me, because I just assumed that all these health tips that my parents taught me should be like, doesn't everybody know this? And apparently no. So later on, when I of course when I switched careers to our health clothing business, I also thought that our family's collective experience, and as well as my own, as I became an adult and read up more, I said that I think I should have a talk like that's why I call it modern health threats and our countermeasures, so that people can actually be informed about things that I know and probably they don't. Yeah. So and yeah. So
Yeah, and we're really tapping on your journey. And like you said, right, when it's not that kind of phase yet, for example, if you're not a mother, or if you were not sickly before, if you didn't have a parent who had 60 days, yeah, 60 days left to live, right? I think the kind of life experience and the lessons that we learn will be very different. So so I hope the audience, you all like what you have been hearing, because I think we are really sharing our journeys with you. And
yeah, and I think I just want to share, right, like just to wrap up the story, because I know there are some who are tuning in for the first time. I'm very thankful that for my family, we learned the lesson, but we didn't have to pay the ultimate price for it. Like I know I have clients who become my friends as well. Generally, people come and work with us, right, when there is some trouble in terms of health in the family. So they are looking for solutions. Usually, there's some they meet some dead end with doctors, or the current medical treatments it's not helping them enough or effectively enough. So very often people can work with us in that regard. But also I from time to time I meet people, they are still healthy, and they said that prevention is better than cure, and they're willing to come and find out what our technology can do for them. And usually I can tell you, even before I get to speak to them and know them, right, I it's the typical case is that they have experienced some medical events in their life. Either they have to take care of someone in the family who had a critical illness and succumbed to it, or they they may have someone dear to them go through something difficult. So I'm glad that for my family, we learn a lot, because my dad and my mom, they didn't give up, so they went and try a lot of alternative ways. So like 2 months became 6, became a year, became so until today. Yeah, my dad is still around. So I think it's I know some people who learn how important health is when they pay a very big price for it. So for those of you who are tuning in, right, like if especially with this year with COVID, right, I think it's never dawned on us as hard as this when the whole world comes to a stop because of a pandemic, how important health is. So I would like to invite all of you to like really really explore health while you're still healthy. Don't wait until we have to learn a lesson, right, before we decide that to take early care of our health.
Yeah, and when we are healthier, us and our kids and our loved ones are healthier, right? I think we are really happier, and we can be more engaged with our lives, more engaged with every day. And so I really agree with what Jamie said, right? To really make space for our wellness now. And then we don't have to, be forced to spend time and even more money on sickness. I find that it's really to bear these lessons in mind and to have the discipline, because usually people really don't know what there is until it's lost. I think health is like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And to everyone who is tuning in, right, I personally want to thank you for being here, because every time you tune in, we really hope, please share with us also, please share with Hui Ling and Mira. We really hope that we are sharing with you things that you hadn't heard of before, or perspectives that you hadn't considered before. So I think just now Hui Ling brought up about BPA, right? And how there are like BPA free bottles now. But again, right, I would challenge everyone to be very discerning consumers. So it's like, if you think about like but BPA, how we get plastics is because there's BPA. BPA is what makes hard clear plastic. So how come we still have BPA plastics, like did you ever wonder, like did you ask yourself this question, how come if BPA is needed to make plastics, how come we still can have plastic that's BPA free, right? So again, right, so BPA stands for bisphenol A, right? Yeah, so now there's a requirement to label BPA products, but they never tell you there's this other substance called BPS. So there's no need for there's no need for labeling for BPS now, although you might find very very rare. So I'll look out for those. I try not to use plastic. I try to use glass and stainless steel more. But there are some more like rarer products, right, where they label BPA and BPS free, right? So they use a different kind of plastic material that is not so susceptible to produce like microplastics or these substances that actually leach into the materials, or rather the food or the water that they're holding. Yeah, so yeah, you see, so there's really a lot to know, and and a lot more that we don't know. Yeah, so it's really good to engage and get into a community who cares about health and know what there is more to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you were sharing with me, like all of us, the other things that we need to take note of, right? Then it just dawned on to me that I feel so thankful that I'm wearing. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you know about our high tech health clothing, but I just want to share as a young person, right, who is quite lazy to do anything more for health, right? No, I really feel so thankful that other than worrying about what comes in, I think when we choose the right clothing, which is of course the health clothing that we know about, right? It also helps us detox.
Yeah.
So I think both ways. I mean, we can definitely share offline with you guys more because I'm saying such a big word detox, right? But why it happens and all, I think I'll spare you guys the details. But you can always
Yeah.
ask with us, or maybe we can share a bit more later. But I was just thinking, right, because when it comes to health, right, I think any method that we choose or I would like to choose, right, I would prefer something that can be repeated easily. For example, use exercise as the way of health, which we should all do it. Actually, we really need a lot of discipline to do it frequently. And if you choose to eat healthily, you have to do it frequently as well. If we choose to take supplements or whatever that we choose to do for health, right? Basically, it needs to be repeated for it to be effective. I think this one is very logical. So I really feel so thankful that my parents decided to include our high-tech health clothing, right, into this health formula. Because I find that it's easy to repeat. Like for example, the blanket. Just looking at my bed, the blankets on my bed, the pillow cover, the bolster cover. I have some scarves and some like accessories for sleep, right? I every day, and then I just wash and keep it clean. And then daytime, it would be like whatever that I'm wearing. You probably cannot tell also, but it's just choosing a different brand, and yet it can take care of my health every day. So I personally, as a consumer also, right, I feel that it's very, very convenient, and because it's so convenient, right, it is also why it's very effective because we can do it all the time.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, I think I only got to know about our Neuron High Tech Health Clothing in 2011. I was in my 30s and I've been sick for 30 years already. And I remember, right, after how quickly it's really effective because it's changing the body's environment. So if you have been to nature, you have been to forests and waterfall, you all know that um, our body really feels good in nature. So we are organisms, we are natural organisms, we belong in nature. But look at all of us now, like Hui Ling and I, we are both in our rooms. There's nothing natural, and if you're viewing, you're also probably in some room, right? Yeah, so it's all man-made, it's all artificial. There's nothing natural about our modern day civilized environment. So what this clothing does is it actually just put ourselves, our body, into a forest environment. So this is how high tech it is, right? And to me, what happened was actually in this natural environment, my body system just resets and corrects itself and has the resources it needs to work on whatever is lacking, whatever is malfunctioning. So I was so surprised in how in 6 months, right, like my 30 years of eczema, very severe eczema, as well as other symptoms that have cropped up along the way, some of which I cannot even notice. I don't have the bandwidth to notice because the eczema was so severe, right? But when they disappeared, I definitely noticed it. So when the issues resolve themselves, the first thing I thought was like, wow, I wish I knew this earlier. And how also the other thing is, wow, I tried to do so many things for my health, right? But unless the environment is first very good, the effect for what we do for our health, right, can be quite limited. So I think these were the two biggest takeaways. So like I think I always feel that Hui Ling is very fortunate you started using Neuron clothing at what, 9 years old or 11 years?
I was 11, my brother was
Yeah.
9. So 5 to 9, right, he continued to have the asthma eczema issue that I mentioned at the start of 2.
Yeah.
And then until 9, actually a stranger introduced. So back then it's like a stranger who's a salesperson, that sort of thing, introduced to my family. I'm so thankful because my parents, it took them about 6 months to consider. Because the technology is new to them, right? It took them about 6 months to consider. But I think the moment they decided, right, was the moment that my brother ended his sufferings early. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's really so easy. Back then, I remember as a kid, he was just wearing our Neuron singlet,
Yeah.
undergarments, socks, and pajamas and blanket, right? And then in 3 months, all the eczema symptoms started to reduce, and I know that the significant change was after the 6 month mark. And eventually, over a course of 2 years, all of the symptoms completely went away. And I think the symptoms will only completely go away, right, when we really deal with the root issue. And it has
Mm.
been proven already for the past 15 years, the symptoms never came back. And of course, the best part is the Neuron clothing has no expiry date. So my brother and I have been continuing this usage eventually until I came out to work and I decided to take it up as a business also. I find that it's really meaningful and I want to spread the word to others. So that is how the whole journey evolved.
Yeah,
And for
yeah.
yourself also, for an educator, and in the end, you also became a distributor and an advocate for this health clothing.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. I think eventually, I mean, when I benefited, I also started yeah, I was also encouraged to find out more about it. Actually, I wasn't very curious. I was quite I was not very open-minded. I just said that I got the results that I needed. There's no need to for me to so-called spend time and find out more about it. Just keep wearing the clothes, or but actually at various people's encouragements, right, I went to find out more and I realized that, oh my gosh, this is what a lot of people need, that they actually need a change in environment. So I just started casually sharing with some friends, and they really had a lot of results. I'm very glad that I could help my friends, their children, themselves, and their parents also, which is why I decided to switch careers and come in full time. And I think what we want to share in today's session is, of course, for everyone. I think we've had a few topics on health, when especially kids, kids and adults, when we are healthier, we are happier. That's just about it. When we can engage with life more, and rather than, in our lifetime to be forced to spend time on our sickness, right, we can make space for our wellness now first. So yeah, I think it's a very, very different approach. Maybe for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, you might wonder, like, wow, what is it? But if you think about how we are really having to wear clothing every day, right, isn't it very important to pick the right clothing that contribute to our health, rather than contribute to our lack of health, or, like, yeah, contribute towards our sickness. Yeah.
And just now, Jamie, you mentioned this part about environment, right? I thought to elaborate a
Mm.
bit more. I think when we say change in environment, okay, now we are living in Mother Earth, and then we are living in for
Yeah.
both Jamie and I we're in Singapore, so that's like urban and city, right? So actually, we can't change our macro environment unless we decide to change our life and then go to the jungle and stay there or near the waterfall and forest. So I mean, we still need to lead our lives, take care of our
Mm.
families. We have work and things, the causes that we want to do in this lifetime, which is why we need to stay in the city. So when we say change in environment, it just means the change in the immediate environment surrounding our body. So which is
Mm.
why clothing is also very smart, because the skin is the largest organ of the body. So if our skin is technically like what is between the environment and the inner part of our body, right? So if we could have
Yeah.
a second layer that can take care of that and um, help us to sort of change to a more natural environment, since we cannot physically go there,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's really a blessing lah. Mm.
That's right. That's right. This is a very good point.
You mentioned something before, which I also find it very helpful to understand. Like how astronauts need to wear a space suit in outer space, because outer space is not ideal for human beings to be in. Yeah, I think currently our planet has changed a lot, so our environment has changed a lot. and because of the all the EMFs and our phone devices and everything stresses. So I find that having a high tech health clothing is almost like our space suit on Earth to give
Yeah,
our body a place to live in.
yeah. And we have a viewer who says that, yeah, who agrees with our topic today, right? That when we see our kids healthy, that's the best thing a parent loves most. And I totally agree. You know, compared to when I think about how sickly I was and my experiences as a child, right? When I became a mother, I definitely don't want my child to go through that. As in, I lived through that, right? And I don't want her to go through that. So I'm very thankful that, like I said earlier, only in 2011 then I knew about the Neuron high tech clothing. Um, Back then, I wish I knew earlier. Like, you know, Hui Li could have a chance to use it when she's 11, and if I had that chance also, I don't have to suffer for so long. But I'm very glad still that, you know, I got to know it in my early 30s, because later on, as I kept using, again, right, Hui Ling has mentioned that this is effective for lifetime. As I kept wearing, I find myself getting healthier and healthier. I was even healthier than I was in my 20s. So when I eventually had gave birth to my child, I actually delivered her less than 2 weeks after my 40th birthday. So I conceived naturally very quickly, and I had a natural home birth, which means there's no intervention, there's no medical intervention at home, right? In the hospital, there's no medicate. It's not a medicated birth. You know, she, given my medical history, right, it's very highly likely that she's not healthy, but actually she has from since birth been very, very healthy. And yeah, I think this is me personally as a parent. I think all parents, you want your kids to be healthy. It's like a given. But I think it's that understanding of how I went through being in such poor health, and I definitely don't want other children to go through it. And I know that there could be parents out there now, your child might not be well, or they might be, you know, having some recurring issues, whether maybe it's not critical, maybe it's small but it's bothersome, but also there are other issues as well. You know, please talk to us and have a chat with us to see how this can actually make a difference in your child's life, whatever the situation is. Yeah.
Yeah, do speak to us. I think we're coming to an end today, but do speak
Yes.
to us if you want some targeted content or tips
Yeah.
for your kids and your family's health. We'll definitely like to share. The work that we do, we are exposed to a lot, so we definitely love to share with you guys. And I think that's the value that Jamie and I really want to offer through our Millennial Meets Millennial. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time.
Right. Hope you got a lot out of this episode. Let us know what you think and what you've learned. All right. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.